If you read the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears as a child, you may remember a scene where Goldilocks just can't find the right fit. She's in the bear's home, she's trying on the chairs, can't find the right size, she's trying porridge that's on the table and can't find the right temperature. She's always trying to find her just right. And as a neurodivergent, I felt like that my entire life. I have an inner Goldilocks, or what I've referred to as my inner primadonna, who needs tending, attention, balancing, parenting, has very specific needs that have to be attended to. And when I don't, I get overwhelmed, I get frustrated, I become enraged, I become distressed, I regress, I have a meltdown, I shut down, I want to retreat, and then I burn out. And I can be cognizant of the existence of this Goldilocks or primadonna, and I have to be the one who manages it because I can't expect anybody else to. But I'm not necessarily given the tools to manage it. Nobody comes to me and says, hey, by the way, as a neurodivergent person, you're going to struggle with, for example, self-regulation. You're going to get frustrated more easily, and you're going to need to do XYZ techniques, apply this strategy to manage your self-regulation and not become overloaded and then shut down and then melt down and feel burnt out. Nobody tells me that. And nobody tells many neurodivergents that. So we, through trial and error, realize that there is this untended Goldilocks that we have to manage, and we become more cognizant of their needs, and we adjust how we approach life, what we do and what we don't do, to make sure that the Goldilocks' need is being met. Because the alternative is to have any of those experiences I've described, like the shutdown, the overload, the meltdown, the burnout. Those are just responses to a very finicky internal system being taxed beyond its capacity. And it's not a question of choice. It's just hardwired into many neurodivergent brains. We have smaller, like where people have cups, we have thimbles. And when somebody pours into that thimble, we get overloaded and overwhelmed and overflow a lot faster. And because of this awareness of that, I know I have to go through my day very conscious that I have to manage not overwhelming that thimble. I have to make sure that my sensory environment is not overwhelming, that I'm meeting I have executive function aids to manage my executive dysfunction, that my need for stimulation is being met regularly. Often I multitask to meet that need. If I'm cooking, I might be watching a show or listening to a podcast. That's an example. And then additionally, if I'm in a social environment, I'm making sure that it is relatively comfortable. I like to stay on my learning edge where it's just on the edge of discomfort and comfort, and work within that so I can kind of hopefully expand it, but I don't exceed it. And if I do, it's in a limited capacity. So I will keep social engagements to 1 up to 3 hours, but they have to be in not loud or crowded areas, relatively quiet. It's not too busy if I can avoid it. There's not too many demands put upon me to converse for the entirety of that period. And if I do, I'm going to just limit that interaction to 1 hour, because after an hour, I'm tapped out, I'm sapped of energy, and I don't want to keep talking. I just don't have that capacity. So being cognizant of that and working within the limits of what this inner Goldilocks needs makes us more successful, happy, and well-balanced individuals. If we ignore it and we try to persevere and don't pay attention to it, Goldilocks flips into primadonna and explodes, and terrible things result. And this is why a lot of us become rigid, is because we are aware through a lot of negative, unsuccessful experiences that we have to stick within a very narrow lane in terms of what we're being exposed to, what's being demanded of us, and what needs are being met, and with what frequency they're being met, so that we will not veer into that negative outcome. People see us as being overly rigid and like fixated, and we're stubborn, but many of us develop through this trial and error experience an understanding of, this is what I need, this is where my limit is, this is what I can and can't do, and we stick to it. And sometimes that's helpful, and we need to do that to manage. Sometimes it's avoidance, and it's up to you as an individual to do that reflection piece and figure out if you're just avoiding and maybe there's an opportunity for growth. A lot of the time, it is that we know realistically what our limit is, and we're working within that. And because that limit differs from that of neurotypicals, they'll compare their standard to ours and think, oh, wow, like you have a thimble, I got a cup. Why can't you be the cup? It's like, well, I didn't pick it. I didn't choose to be born with Goldilocks, and I didn't choose to have very specific needs. But as a conscious, responsible adult, I have become aware, and I'm taking responsibility for my needs, and I'm not putting them on other people, and I'm not burdening them with, an outsized emotional reaction when they aren't met. I'm doing the best to manage it, knowing what I know about my limits and about myself. Have you struggled with managing the needs of your inner Goldilocks? Have you found that you've had to adhere to some really rigid expectations or needs, and that people have been less than understanding and compared you to their standards and being completely puzzled and maybe even judgmental or critical about you not being able to do what they expect of you? Have people failed to understand that you are doing the best that you can, or have they been relatively empathic and compassionate and they've accommodated for it? I would love to hear all about your experiences.